What happens when you have extended a table like the vendor table and added new fields that maybe are needed in the vendor list? Don't you think we need a report extension for this? We might need a report extension, but according to the best advice that I'd give on a report extension is avoid changes that are breaking changes. It should ideally be used when you're only affecting maybe an addition to a layout. And more so, something that is really affecting a layout is not really good. But if it's affecting a layout, of course, you'll already be having your own custom layout, so it's not a big deal. But again, avoid any change that is affecting the code, like on after get record, you want to add code after that, then you'd rather create your own new report and substitute the report to avoid breaking changes. So today, as part of the report series, we are going to add another video to the report series, and this will be how to use and create, how to use the report extension object. And we'll try and just add a few columns to a report and also add a data item to a report extension to a report.
Hii ni Tech na Msangi ya jishinde.com.
So here is my table extension. It contains 3 columns: vendor identification number, latitude, and longitude added to the vendor table. Then we have our page extension that is only using latitude and longitude. So apparently I only need to leverage latitude and longitude. Then now here is our report extension. So the snippet we can start it all over again. The snippet for a report extension is T report extension. So you just say like, okay, let's just do it real quick. T report extension, then we can be able to say maybe the vendor list report extension will be extending the vendor list. So that's the report extension that we have created. Then we have our rendering here in the layout. So at this point of rendering, this is when you need to run that particular report and go to the layout section here on the report layout. Click on that assist edit, go to the original layout, click on this assist edit again, and export that particular layout so that you can start from the known, start with the layout of the existing report. So this is in the case where you actually need to use to just add something to the layout of this existing report. Otherwise, if you need to do a lot of changes to the report in the layout and all that, then you just create your own new report and substitute the report rather than creating a new report extension in this way. So at least we'll be maintaining that particular report and having it there. Copy the report. I have already copied that report from the location. I have renamed it to our vendor list.rdlc. So here the only thing that is remaining will be to link it to my source, then report, then reports, supposed to be reports, then our vendor list.rdlc. So here is our we have now linked to our layout for the report extension. Okay, so once we have added the layout, remember this is our new layout which we'll leverage and be able to edit and add our columns that we'd like to add. So the first thing is to look at the changes to the data items and columns. And we are not trying to break any change. We want to add. We want to add to the columns that have been provided. And most likely is when we have added our own fields in our vendor table extension, that's when we now need to have this added in our report extension. So let's come here and say we need the latitude and longitude. So you need to add in, we need to add in the vendor table. Remember, when you go to this vendor list, which is here already open, we can see that there is only one data item, and the data item here is vendor. So this is the data item. So when we use add, and there's on after get record, okay? So when we use add, we are only specifying the columns that is to be added in a report extension. What kind of columns do we need to add in our report extension? So when we come here, we can see that AL Go for GitHub is already giving us the suggestion for whatever needs to be added, but it is pretty wrong. It is specifying it as a data item instead of a column. So we need to add the column for vendor identification number. There is no data item link here. Then, okay, let's just use AZL DevTools. Vendor identification number, latitude. We said latitude and longitude. Let's stick to that and add them here. So it is simply adding these two columns, the latitude and longitude. So when we need to add, so this makes sense in terms of not breaking changes, because we are just adding on top of, you're not trying to modify anything. And we are extending the base application report. We are not sort of changing anything. So what if we need to add a data item? Like let's speak of the vendor posting group, for instance, which is linked to the vendor, and we'd like to add it. We can say maybe add after, so it will come here, add after vendor, then add after vendor, then we'll say we need the data item, maybe vendor posting group. So that's the data item that we need. And in the vendor posting group, we need the column for maybe code and maybe the payment, something to do with the payment payables account. So we need that in our report. For instance, there is no linkage in this vendor list, but we are adding. So we are not sort of changing anything. Okay. So let's see. Cannot use add before. Okay. So we cannot use the add before or add after on the top level data item. The anchor vendor is a top level data item. So we cannot use add before or add after because that is a top level data item. But we can say maybe add last here. There we are. So add last in the vendor after sort of the vendor is there. We can have the vendor posting group and the payables account specified in our reports. Then we need to link this with the data item link. Otherwise, it will display all the records in the vendor posting group without having the right thing. So the code will be equal to the vendor posting group of the vendor, but we need to say it is filled vendor posting group. So that's it, vendor posting group. Then we delete this. All right, so we have linked the vendor posting group and we have the payables account, we have the latitude and we have the longitude. So for each vendor, it will display the posting group, it will give us the latitude and the longitude. So the other option that we have that we don't want to leverage as of today is the ability to have the option to say modify. So when we say modify, we can modify vendor if we'd like. Maybe we can say we need to modify this vendor data item. And here we have an option to have several triggers. Like we have the on before pre-data item. So if we need code here, when you say pre-data item, okay, pre-data item is not even being used. Let's say on before after get record. So let's say on, come on before after get record. So on before after get record, what if this is when we need to add some code just right here? Remember, there is code here in on before after get record. So maybe what we can do, we can try and see on before after get record, we'll message out. I don't know if the vendors have any calc field, if they have any amount, but it could be a good case to be able to see the postings of the vendor. In this sandbox of mine, most likely they don't have amount, but we'll just message out the balance of the vendor. And we add another modify on after get record. So on after get record, we get the balance. So we'll try and see. So this trigger will be generated right before we get the balance, and once we get the balance, on after get record will give us the balance. So it means now the calc fields will sort of give us an amount, and then the on after get record will give us that. So for these are the triggers that we would like to really avoid, because they can cause breaking changes, because you are directly adding code here. It's like adding some code right here and right after this. So really not advisable for us to use them, but we have the messages there just for this demonstration, for understanding. All right. Of course, the rendering, and we have only chosen to have RDLC. We can add other layouts if we'd like, and we can even add changes to the request page here. And most of the changes in the request page are similar to what you have with when you are when assume that you are sort of just you are what is it called? You are modifying the page extension. Assume that this is a page extension when you're using the request page. Don't think of it as a report extension, because at this point you only have the ability to maybe change the layout a little bit here, maybe add after, and then add before, similar to the way we leverage a page extension. So this is your page extension. If you need something added in the request page here, maybe, okay, we don't have anything in the request page, but if we'd like, maybe we can say add first, then we'll say filter, and then we don't have any global variable, but we can create our global variable right at the end, and we say filters. It's a text filter group. Okay, add first, in the content, and then we say the group will be filter. Then we'll say that our field, of course, that is it, will, okay, the field should just be filter. Field will be filter, and that's it. So we have our I'll disable this algo for GitHub. It's giving me a lot. Filter group. So at least we'll have maybe that filter if we need. So okay, we are not really just to see how to be able to modify the request page. So this is how a report extension works. In a way, it's sort of, if you are having so many modifications, then it doesn't make sense. If you are having fewer modifications, the better. So if the modifications are too many in the report extension, it's much better to use the report itself rather than having a report extension. I'll build. If I built, okay, so the package has been created, and Now we can go to our vendor list, and we should be having the reports in form of, we should be having this extra field. So you right click, as long as you have Microsoft Report Builder installed, you can open externally and you'll have a view of the fields that you have added that were not available but now are available. So I like using inches for my settings, because I know as long as it's not exceeding 8, then it's better for me. Then we can sort of just add a few fields here, like the latitude, where is it, latitude from the vendor, and it's a decimal, of course, with 6 decimal places, but we'll say it's a number. I don't know if it will ask for properties. We need at least 6 decimal places, because the latitude has that ability, it has got those many decimal places. And then we maybe add the longitude here, and still another decimal with a specific unique format requirements in form of 6 decimal places. Then minimize, come on. Then we will sort of need another, maybe the vendor posting group code, and the payables account, and then reduce this font a little bit, change the font to something that we'd like. Maybe this is Arial. I don't like Arial font. Don't know about you guys. So this is it should only be latitude. There is no vendor involved there. Okay, we have added the latitude twice. So the other one should be longitude. Can pull it from here, but let me just use this. Longitude and latitude. So we have latitude and longitude. Then as my instincts are telling me, let me just change the font to what I'd like, to something like Cambria, to maintain consistency. Make this 7, we make it 6, so that we don't overlap the report past 8.5 inches for the letter size, and reduce this a little bit. And also reduce this a little bit. Basically also reduce this so that we can maintain that below 8.5, and at least here we are sure that it won't overlap. So now we have modified our extension, we have done our layout, we have saved it. Okay, maybe this user ID should move to the right so that it can be well displayed. Those nitty-gritties can still be done, and we need now to view our new report, and we'll need to select it because it's not automatically, and it will not be the one that will be generated automatically when we try and preview this. Build again and run the report. It's being published to the server, and we'll be able to see whatever is happening. So the main pointer for me is, I think we should avoid using the triggers for report extensions. If we need to really change the code there, then we can copy the report and create our own copy and substitute it and be able to present it to the user. Yeah, it's good to avoid those breaking changes so that our upgrades can be easier and faster. So here it is, we are getting ready to see our report, and we can see that we have the report layout that is automatically selected, and so we have, this is The layout is supposed to be our vendor list.rdlc, and it's known as layout name. Okay, so let's select our layout name, which is our vendor list. We can see our filter, which we added from this side in our filter group. So the original report didn't have this, but we have extended now the report. Every vendor list now will be having this, and then the vendor will be like this, and with the posting group and all that. So we can preview. We'll see two messages, one on before and one on after, because we have added that. So nothing has been triggered, surprisingly. Okay, we'll look at that. But here we have our okay, this one didn't pick 6. Okay, I forgot to do the 6 decimal places, but we have our latitude, our longitude, the vendor posting group, and the payables account automatically added. Okay. Oh, we already had this vendor posting group in the original report. I didn't notice that. But so this is the extension that you have created, and we have our own custom report. It is spilling over just because of the length, which can be reduced. Oh, this is when the the messages are coming, right? Even way after I have previewed my report, that's when the messages are coming, and they are not helping because we did not add the vendor number. And since there is no vendor with an amount, we can't see the difference between when the amount had a calc field versus when it didn't have a calc field. So this is how we can leverage report extensions in Business Central. You can share the use case that you see is more relatable or more impactful, and so that we can see if there are objects that we can really benefit from while using Business Central. So that's it for this video. I'll see you in the next video. May God bless you.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and ring the notification bell so that you don't miss the next one.